Hello YouTube land. I have made multiple attempts at doing a video today. I'm hoping this will be the final go round. Really I started out as doing an update on some of the plants that we have growing, and I have decided to give some more information about semi-hydroponics. I have the traditional method, the way it was intended to be used, which is you have a plastic, or it could be glass, but in most cases plastic pot with a couple of holes, one to allow aeration to the roots, also, and then you have another one here that it keeps the water from being too high. So my water reservoir, this little area here, it has these leca pellets, or the growing medium, and it wicks the moisture from the reservoir throughout the other pellets and to reach the roots. So that way the plant has a rather constant supply of moisture and also airflow. From my point of view, for my growing circumstances, this seems like a gift, like a gift from above. It just really works well here. Most of my plants are outdoors. It is very warm, very humid here, but I do think that this would work well indoors as well. So here's some of the things that make me think that this is definitely a benefit for me. I had this particular plant, I received it from Lowe's. It was a bag baby. The roots were completely desiccated and dry and pretty much useless. I had tried getting the roots to grow. I would mist the roots, trying to provide a little moisture, or what was left of the roots. Finally, I stuck it in here. I had really looked into full water culture and semi-water culture, but as I was seeing roots on some of my other plants dying off, and that's expected because they die off and then you have new roots that are produced which are acclimatized to that growing method. Well, I couldn't stand it. I couldn't stand seeing all the roots die off. It just was a little too much. And does that happen with semi-hydro? Yes, it can, and it does. But I don't find that it happens to the extent that it did with full water culture. So here's what I'm seeing with this plant. We have new growth. We have new roots, very healthy looking new roots. As a matter of fact, this is actually stuck to that root. And one of the things that I like about this method is when it's necessary to repot due to size, it is not traumatic to the roots, because when you pick the plant up, the pellets go with it. Because they are not an organic media which is going to break down, they don't have to be removed. So you can just plunk the whole thing into a bigger pot, add more pellets around it, water it, and move on with your day. It doesn't hurt the roots. It doesn't, harm the plant. And I'm sorry, some chickens have just laid eggs and they are letting the world know about it. So it's going to get loud in a moment. So some of the more non-traditional ways I'm doing this is, it just happened that I didn't have plastic pots big enough to accommodate this plant. It was suggested when I bought it about a week ago that I go ahead and split it into two plants. I decided, let me see if I can get this to become a specimen plant. So here you have it. It's in a 6-inch pot, and instead of having this sort of water reservoir, I'm basically using the tray of the pot as my reservoir. Because this is a porous material, it will go in here through the leca pellets and be wicked up just like it would be in the plastic. I also really like, most of my plastic pots are sitting inside the clay pots. I like this for a couple of different reasons. One, I think that having the air around here, I really don't want to fill that in with other material. I think that having the air there is a bit of an insulation against some of the heat that we have. It also shades the roots physically so that algae growth is kept to a minimum. Nothing against algae, I actually don't mind the way that it looks, but it is organic, so it will die and it will need to be removed from the pot. So I would prefer to keep it to a minimum at this point. And yes, I do have some of these, some lava rocks in there. It's just for weight to hold it down, as we had a lot of wind. And it was even trying to blow some of this over. But another reason I like this is because when it's really hot, I can spray this clay down the outside without wetting the plant, and it also will help cool the plants a bit more. I have all sorts of plants in the semi-hydro. I have cattleyas. These are all cattleyas. This one's got a nice little sheath. If I can keep it alive long enough, I'm hoping it'll flower nicely. Look at these roots. Finally, this poor little struggling plant is getting some roots, and I totally think that this is all due to the method of growing. Some beautiful roots happening there. This one, I didn't have another large pot on hand when I got it, so I just put it in here just for temporary. But to be honest, I like the way this one is growing so much in it. I don't really want to disturb it. This is a cattleya. I think maybe it prefers the slightly drier environment. It's still, yes, it has the moisture, but I think because it's not in the plastic that perhaps the roots are breathing even better. And by the way, all of these roots were grown within the past week. Yes, 1 week. And that was after placing in semi-hydro. Again, we have some more cattleyas. We have Dendrobium aggregatum. This one also quite happy. This one had broken from a larger one when I was pulling it out due to my own clumsiness. Oh, I just turned in there. It has a new growth. Lots of new roots. This encyclia, holy shnikey Batman. Look at the roots. This is a very happy plant. New growth here, new growth here. Yeah, I think this one's doing well where it is. So we have, here we have Oncidium Cherry Baby. This pseudobulb is larger than its previous. I only had the one growth when I received it. So I had really vacillated between whether or not I had this one in the right place. And I do think that it is, after being up here for a week or so in the semi-hydro outdoors. I'm starting to see some new roots. It's this pseudobulb has really plumped out nicely, so I do think that maybe she's in the right place. This is a Dendrobium no ID. When I first got it, these pseudobulbs, of course they were wrinkled, but they were flat, flat, flat. And since then they have plumped out. It has this new growth, which looks very happy, and you know, lots of, again, new roots. I don't know if I can. So, you know, I think so far I have not met a plant that didn't care for this. This is a Cymbidium, which is starting to put out some new roots. We have Brassavola nodosa. Lots of new roots, lots of new growth. Some little spikes occurring, flower spikes. Now this guy I don't have in the leca pellets. It's all lava rocks. I think I'm going to dump him out and see what's going on, because you see all of these new growths on the aerial roots. That really leads me to believe that the fact that it needs aerial roots like this, it's probably not doing really well in the pot. So I'm going to see what's going on in there. Now the other Dendrobium aggregatum, this is the original plant, and it had broken off, lots of roots there. But this little shoot, we left about 4 days ago to go on a little mini vacation, just a weekend getaway, and it was kind of flat, had the little growth. Well, it has since plumped up. This entire leaf has come out, so I think it's quite happy. But this was the biggest change, and either through bravery or stupidity, I'm not sure which, I decided to change this to semi-hydro right before we left, actually the day before we left. And this is a Phragmipedium. You know, I've heard that they can be very picky and don't do well, and they have setbacks when you make any changes to them. So I was concerned about doing it. But when I received it a couple of months ago, it had this little teeny tiny growth that had started, barely clearing the medium, and it really hadn't grown. It had another one here. It really hadn't grown. So I went ahead and put it in the leca pellets. I put it in, actually this plastic drip tray I put it because they're so thirsty and they need so much moisture. So I went ahead and put it in here so I could give it more water than just the tray would allow, since I didn't know if we would receive some rain or not. So it actually has done very well, and there's been no setback. As a matter of fact, this has grown quite a bit. This has grown quite a bit, and I'm actually starting to see a few little nodes of new growth popping out. And there's another one on the back, right back there. So yeah, kind of made me a believer. You know, I love the fact that when it does outgrow the pot, I don't have to disturb its roots and cause a setback by putting it into another pot. So you know, for me, in my environment, this works. It works well. One thing to be aware of is the pellets can be very different. Some of them can be small, some of them are a little bit larger. You can have round ones, you can have very irregularly shaped ones. I personally, find that the irregularly shaped ones do well for me because we get sometimes rather large soaking rains, and when that happens, the pellets float, and so they can actually float up out of the pot. But I find that the irregularly shaped ones actually kind of hold their position, they lock into place. So you still get the good airflow, but they don't tend to, I'm not coming home and finding all of my plants have floated out of their pots, which is nice, especially because my dogs do quite a number on them if they find them. Also, some brands tend to wick a little bit better than other brands. So they, you know, it can be a little trial and error. When it's really warm, really dry, you know, you can mist the top of these if you're so inclined, and I may end up doing that this summer before they get moved indoors. But at this point, I've not had to do that. Typically, I think when the roots grow down low enough into the media, they shouldn't need to do that. And as you can see, this is a good example. There's the moisture there. You can see the humidity inside, but you can also see the gaps, so it's getting plenty of airflow. So, you know, it might take some trial and error if you want to do this, you know, finding the type of leca pellets that work well for you. And but to me, it's been worth it. This was about my third different type, and I could just see the potential in it. I liked that I could see the roots, that I could see the moisture. You know, don't have to water them every day if you don't want to, and you know, and you're sure that they're still getting the air and the moisture that they need. So anyway, I hope that this has been of some information and use to you. Hope that you've enjoyed it, and I appreciate you stopping in to check it out. I hope you come by again. Thank you.